me get that rolling, and then we'll go in with our introduction and get our discussion underway. Today we have a very, oh, what happened here? Looks like I need a permission to go live on Facebook.
Ding, I gave you permission.
Okay. It's set it since, okay, we sent a notification to your PC and Samsung. Let's see if I see that here. So I don't think I see that. I do not see that. So let's see if it went through on the computer. So bear with me 1 second as we work out some technical difficulties. So I'm on location. I'm sitting poolside at Ondas in Maui, Kihei. So bear with me a second. I thought I had my computer recharging or charging up, but it's not. Some at about 30 something percent. So I have my phone as backup and also Josh to continue hosting the call in case I run out of juice, but I'm anticipating not. Okay. Let's see here, spam.
You need like a jump off line.
No, that should be fine. I just don't see this. Josh, can you make us live on Facebook? Because I don't seem to be able to have that ability.
I'll attempt to. I'll see if I can do it on my own.
You should be able to because you're co-host.
Okay. I can't do Facebook. Right now it's recording to the Zoom cloud.
Okay.
Facebook, I think I have to be logged into your Facebook, like actual.
I see. Okay, so we tried, and so we might not go live on Facebook then today. Let me give it one more shot before we go underway. Let's see what it does. Yeah, so, okay. Oh, hold on, maybe it's giving me a notification here. Okay, I don't see it. So we'll just carry on without that then. Not a biggie. We're going, okay, so welcome everyone to Healing Conversations. Today we have Troy with us. And let's see here. Okay, bear with me. I'm working off my laptop. It's a little different. So. Okay. We have Troy Ballard talking about the fluid living, natural and practical. It's a discussion we have ongoing on a weekly basis, and Troy calls it the art of living. And so I think that's what we're doing here. We're learning to, at least on this end, learning to be present, embodying, for me, authenticity. And what does that mean? To live fully in the present moment. And for me, it's been this thought of feeling complete. There's nowhere else to seek, but just really being in a state of appreciation, gratitude, leaning into the human experience. We like to label things good and bad, but it's just simply feedback of what this experience is. And so there was a point in time that Troy, Amber, and I were talking about labels and how labels create, I think, a limit, this feeling like a bird in a cage that we're living in certain parameters. And so the discussion has evolved into fully embodying this thing. And so we're so excited to have Troy lead us into that. Again, this space, Healing Conversations, is a space that came out of the thought of a space for expression, where expression is a tool to release what no longer serves us, what's stuck in our narratives, our stories, also our emotions that compose our stories. A lot of times our emotions become not only a sentence of interpretation, but a paragraph in a chapter in our lives. And really, sometimes it becomes this one little thing that happens in our lives becomes our whole life story. Or if we were to say our life is a book, it becomes the whole book. And so this is a time to gain awareness, gain lightness, and to see, is that serving us, right? Is that really serving us? Or can we go beyond these experiences that shape our lives and create a recontextualization if there's anything to do with those stories for living in the past to something strengthening that works for us, that leads us into our truest, most authentic expression. And I feel for me, that's been the liberation that I've experienced from not living in the past, not worrying about the future, really seeing the completeness of the moment right here, right now. And to lead us in that way, we're going to be talking about how that can be done in a fluid way. And I think that's so excellent when Troy talked about fluid living, probably a few years ago. It was something that really opened the book, the playbook of what it means to be human and to do it in a way where we can experience more ease and flow. I think life sometimes it gets a little clunky, right? Life is happening, clunk, clunk, clunk. Something happened that throws us off our way, and then we don't feel good. Is that really how we want to feel and do life? I think today's was going to be very, very interesting discussion when we're able to pivot. This doesn't work for me. I don't like the way I feel. What is this revealing in me, if anything? So many ways to pivot, whether it's addressing or whether it's just like feeling it without really making a story on it and going back to our authenticity and what's true for us, because life is simply happening. So to get us started, I like to just kind of ground everyone with a very short grounding meditation. It's deep, 3 deep breaths with 3 simple mantras to help us arrive to what's important, to create some lightness, and to arrive here also. So I invite everybody to close your eyes. Obviously, if you're driving, don't close your eyes, only if you're in a safe space. And so close your eyes, take a minute, take a couple breaths. Now take a deep breath with me. And then hold it. Hold that breath for as long as you can. Obviously, not if you're not comfortable. Then feel free to release the breath. Now release the breath. As you're doing so, embrace yourself. Give yourself a hug. Maybe a little squeeze. And say, I love me. I'll say, I love you. I'll say, I love everyone. I love my family. I love my coworkers, as sometimes those things can be very triggering. So can we just open, maybe just for this little meditation, some space to say, I do love those people too. I love the world.
Okay, that's enough.
That's a hard one. But maybe again, just for this meditation, can we just be open to what that might mean? I love life. I'll take another deep breath with me and hold it. Now release the breath. And say, I accept me. Every single part of me. Again, for the purpose of this meditation, even those hard parts that we are hard on ourselves, I accept even that. I accept every single square inch, even down to the cell of what I am. Accept it all. I accept everyone. I accept life. Now let's take one last deep breath. Take that deep breath and hold it. Now release the breath. And say, I'm doing the best I can. Really lean into that. I'm doing the best I can. Give yourself some slack. And guess what? So is everyone else. Everyone's doing the best they can. Let's give everybody some space and some compassion, which is something Troy's going to talk about today. Compassion, the art of living, fluid living. You know what? The world is doing the best they can. It's how life is being expressed. And we just lean into that life is being expressed perfectly. We're not anywhere else. There's nowhere else to be. We didn't like miss the mark. We're not falling behind. We're doing the best we can. I invite you to open your eyes. And let's arrive. So let's jump right into it. So a little bit about Troy. She's going to be talking about fluid living, natural and practical. A little bit about Troy. She's 66 years old. She has a growing business. She's a bookkeeper, excellent bookkeeper, by the way. And she has 3 adult children and also grandchildren. And she's finding out that they're more fun than they used to ever be and better to hang out now. The relationships that she's learned that the relationships that had began and ran their course, she learned through life that her parents grew old and then passed away. Grandchildren happen. Even though she will barely know anything about them, she loves them deeply. After 50 years of spiritual seeking, avenue simply to find peace of mind is where she arrived. As she said, it appears I may have, for myself, discovered how to live fluidly with this life I seem to be living. I quote Troy, I believe that the basis of human nature is compassion, and it is what connects all alive. So without further ado, Troy, help us on understanding fluid living, natural and practical.
Oh, thank you so much, Noe. Thank you. And thank you very much for inviting me to chat with your group today. It's definitely an honor, and it's also fun, because that's really what I figured out I'm here to do, is to really have fun. So I laugh a lot, mostly at stuff that other people don't laugh at, but that's okay too. So this idea of living fluidly, it just is a suggestion on an approach to life, so that you're balancing your planning and your determination and your focus and your intention, but you're also open, because life, I feel, is like a stream. And maybe we can take this into an analogy. So if we relax a little bit and we start to imagine that we are a leaf. We are not in a leaf. We are a leaf that floats on a stream of life. And we each have our own little stream. It's our own little current, and we're just going down it. And there's a lot of things that come along in that. There's eddies. There's times, when you get into your life and things just seem to just swirl and swirl and swirl, and nothing's moving here and nothing's moving there. This is when you can learn that you can't force your way out. You just can't. You can't fight out of the eddy. You just have to relax. Just relax, and basically the main current's going to pick you up again. There's rocks in your stream. There's rocks in my stream. I have bruises all over my body, and I'm sure every single one of us can imagine a couple of bruises where we've, hit the rapids and we weren't prepared, or something like that. We were too tense. There's also the times when we get overwhelmed, and that's when the life streams just literally, you get submerged. Whatever is happening just goes, you're underwater. But with your trust in life, that will bring you back up, and you get to learn from that, that even in the overwhelm, boom, life is going to bring you back up to fresh air. Then there's those other times of life when it's just a mirror pool. And what you get to do is reflect and introspect and just be in that space. And it might be right before a rapids. We don't know, but you're ready because you've already gone through all of that. You know, it's like, for me, it's like surrendering to the curiosity that life is. It's being open to all of that and knowing that, you know what, when I look at my life, yeah, there's been some ugly things that have happened, but in reality, it's always worked out. It's worked out just like this up till now. It's always worked out. Life is always in our favor. It's always moving us in the direction of our desire, maybe, or maybe who knows what it is, our intention. Maybe that's what, but life, I believe life moves us like a stream. So I have some ideas about how practical this can be, because I believe it's a natural thing. That is one thing that I've noticed, is this relaxing into how life is showing up seems to be natural for this human here anyway. And so there are some other practical steps. Now, I tried to come up with a bunch of stories out of my life and all that kind of to show you how it works. And I got a couple of them, but maybe you guys can come up with stories that will help, you know, describe this as well. So one of the things that happens is that as a leaf, you can start to be aware of the current, and you can start to, you know, flow into it. Now, that might be some mindfulness that you do. Maybe you meditate. Maybe you play music. Maybe, you know, whatever it is for journaling, whatever it is for you, is that expanding awareness. And so when the current changes, you're not caught off guard. You just kind of ease into the new flow, ease into the new flow, ease into the new flow. And this allows you to be flexible in your planning. And what I want to say about that is that we can't ever plan an outcome. And I say this, and I'm going to give you, this is an experiential thing for me. I planned a couple of years ago, I planned this big trip to Ireland. Now, I've always wanted to go to Ireland, and it was a big thing for me, and I was going by myself, blah, blah, blah. But I have noticed that my imagination loves to go wild, okay? And it loves to make up all these wonderful things that are going to happen when I'm in Ireland, and people I'm going to meet and things I'm going to do. So what I started doing was I just started listening, but at the same time going, maybe, maybe not. And letting it be, I don't know what's going to happen, and just keep reminding myself of that. And so I had all the scheduling in place. I had the dates and the flights and the tour and all that was in place. But when I landed in Ireland, I didn't have any of the imagination anymore. I was open. It opened me up so that I could just follow wherever it was going to go in that place. And I brought that home with me. I brought that back to my daily life. I don't know what that is anymore, but and then there's the eddies, when things slow down and it just seems like nothing is moving. That's when we can practice patience. Breathe, stand still. Maybe if you see some plans that can be adjusted, do that. But just the real thing there is patience, because life is going to move again. Life will continue to move you. And building your emotional resistance is the rocks that we run into. And I think we all know this. You know, sometimes your rocks are small, sometimes they're big, sometimes they literally they're almost a dam, it seems like, in our life. It's like we are stopped, we cannot get over this dam. This is so hard, but if we can remember that as a leaf, we bend, we don't break. There's nothing that we can be broken upon. This is the time when I go out and I seek my mentors. I go find someone to talk to. That's where I come. It's like I bring that out and I say, okay, This seems really big to me. Can you help me make it smaller, or at least perceive it smaller? And then when you go underwater, these are those major life transitions. This is possible health concerns. It could be death of loved ones. Grief is something that really can overwhelm us, seriously overwhelm us. But as we understand that we are this leaf and this is our stream and this is all of that, and we're relaxing and we're trusting, we know who in our lives we can go to and talk to. These are those times as well. Whoever that is in your life, a priest, a guru, your shaman, whomever that is, your best friend, your husband, your partner, it doesn't matter. You have there's a trusted person in there that you can go to, and just one of the things that Noe just did is the breathing exercises. That's another thing that will help us through our overwhelm as well, is any kind of breathing practice. And trust. Oh, sometimes it's hard. The periods of calm, embrace them. Just savor them. Eat them like a delicious dessert. Num, 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 because nothing stays the same. That is the other part of life. This stream of life is always moving. You're not going to crash into the same rocks. And even if they look a little like the same, you will find that they are not the same. This is where we start trusting the flow. Just trust the flow of our life. Trust our life. Trust life. For me, living fluidly is an ongoing process. It's not something that I get up in the morning and I meditate and then I set an intention to live fluidly that day. I don't know how to do that, to be honest with you. What I notice is that when the frustrations come up, I don't reject them and I don't let them overwhelm me, because that's also part of it. The frustration in mind, I notice those are like the little rocks or maybe whatever when I get frustrated. But that's also going to change. Constantly relaxing into what life is showing me right now, here, now, here. This is where living fluid happens. It doesn't happen out there. It doesn't happen yesterday, and it doesn't happen tomorrow. It always happens now, here. Did I talk long enough?
You have as much time as you need. We always allow 30, 40 minutes for you to express. We can actually open it up for some
Well,
questions.
what I'd like, it would be very interesting if people would like to share something where they cannot seem to see a way out, or maybe they have a story that will embody some of the things that I was talking about as far as living fluidly, how it is showing up in their own lives.
Yeah, this would be an excellent time. If you have an expression as far as that, you can go ahead and raise your hand and put a comment in the chat, or we can go ahead and unmute you and you can express. Perhaps something's happening right now, and this is something to get some perspective, some awareness, some lightness. When we're in a tornado, we don't see our way out. Tornadoes happen all the time. I had an experience last week where I was in a mix of diving deeper into my authenticity and feeling what I was feeling and really going underneath that to see what was going on. And so I sought and asked some questions, like Troy said, mentors. And I feel like the first step is to really dive in, look inside the mirror ourselves, because all the answers are there. So many ways.
You have a monkey in your...
Well, I'm in Maui right now, poolside, so there are tropical birds everywhere. Looks like Tina wants to express. Let's go ahead and see if we can get her unmuted. There you are.
Hello. So I feel like I've been kind of like living fluidly, like going with the flow and all that. And then within the last like week, or about a week, like some things have kind of happened, and they're kind of good things, but I'm having trouble with it. Like one thing is my cousin called me and told me like there's this job where he works that, because I don't want to go back to work full time because I'm not going back into that life. So there's a job that I can possibly take, and it's not paying as much as I would like, but it's giving me the flexibility I would want so I can like do things I want to do still. So that's a good thing, but there's part of me that's afraid to do it because I feel like I'm like abandoning like my finding my purpose. Like I think that's what I'm struggling with. And then the other thing, this is what I'm really having a hard time with is, so this person that I really had a thing for, like he had a bunch of problems in his life and he kind of like disappeared for 2 years. And he showed up like the other day and it's scaring me. So that's kind of what I'm going with. Like I'm having trouble like staying focused on me
It sounds
because I'm
like,
scared. Because a part of me is scared.
yeah, it sounds like you're in
Yeah.
one of those underwater moments.
Yeah.
That you're feeling a little bit of overwhelmed. What do you usually do? What is, I mean, what is your source? What is your go-to?
I keep doing the things like I listen to music and I'll try to meditate, but sometimes when I'm meditating, it's, all those voices. So music is a big one for me. And then I talk to myself about it. I have conversations with myself all the time, and then I've been journaling, but then it's like it comes back, and that's a lot. It's like happening a lot.
Mhm.
So that's where yeah.
Have you know, I mean, one of the things that I probably didn't mention when I was talking earlier, but a lot of this, this is where it gets to awareness for me is like, so I start noticing, okay, so if I'm in overwhelm, I pause for just a minute and I want to notice what exactly is this saying up here? What is it I'm saying to myself? And start to notice that sometimes the thoughts happen before the emotions, and it seems as if those thoughts might even drive the emotions sometimes. That's something that I've noticed. And I was diagnosed bipolar in 2004, so I'm familiar with emotions. It's a lot of it is noticing. It's like it's stopping long enough to notice, and sometimes it's really, really hard because these emotions really overwhelm us. But this is the opportunity life is presenting in order for you to come out into the fresh air stronger than where you stand today. And that kind of takes a little bit of embracing the overwhelm, and sometimes that's not really easy. But to live fluidly within all of that is to accept that these are things that are going to show up sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you said about crashing into the rock, and it's not the same rock, but it looks the same, that made me think of exactly what's happening right now, because he looks the same, but he said he's changed, and he's kind of already proved that in a way, but there's still that part of me that he looks like the same rock. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And that's and if you can embrace that, and if it's okay with you to hang around with this slightly different rock, then
yeah, I'm a little bit scared of this rock. But at the same time, I want to give it, I want to at least see, like I want to let him show me that he has changed, that kind of thing. But there's still that little part of me that's over here, like, I'm trying to make that part of myself understand that we don't have to do anything. We're going to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And,
let's see what life shows us.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say one thing is, or maybe two, if I can chime in. One of the things that brings me peace that I've expressed a few years back is that you cannot mess up this thing called human. I feel like a lot of times we get into our heads because we're second guessing every decision. We're looking at from the lens of the past, looking at from the lens of possibilities that do not exist but in our head. So being present and embodying everything you're feeling and not making it wrong, accepting ourselves, embracing we're doing the best we can, and dismissing that there's any way that we could possibly ever mess this up. I think Troy talked about expectations that we're creating for some future, that we hope things go a certain way, such as with your friend coming up again. But it's okay, just follow the energy, how you feel, and create a safe space for communication and understanding, and embodying everything you feel, not making it wrong, because you cannot ever possibly mess this up. You're right on time. There's no other way to be, but exactly as you are right now.
Yeah. I keep telling myself. I just can't have to tell myself a lot. That's the part. But I can do it.
You are doing
I am doing it. That is true.
it. You can't not. That's the funny thing is like, wait, you can't not doing. You can't not do. Can't not doing. That's not even good or
Yeah.
English, but
I like that. Hmm.
so it's like embodying this idea of being a leaf in your stream of life is just staying aware, flexible, and resilient. It doesn't have any particulars about it. I think that as the awareness over here has increased, then the flexibility is increased and the resilience is increased. It's like all of these things go together as for what I can what I've discovered of what I've experienced here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Tina.
Hmm.
I'm not able to look at chat on my phone. I haven't figured that part out. So I'm
Hold
using
on,
the
hold on.
backup. My computer died out. So if there's any comments on the chat, Josh, if you could check that out, and Troy, if you guys can keep an eye on that as well. Okay. Yeah. So you can raise your hand for any comments or share it in the chat, and I'll rely on Troy and Josh to look at that. I'm a little flying blind on chat. Appreciate you guys.
So one of the I can share a story with you of a one of those underwater moments that I've had recently. When I first moved into where I'm staying now, the morning after I moved in, I got here like in the afternoon. The morning after I moved in, I came in to sit down with my coffee, and there was like about 2 inches of water in my office. Like not and not happy. And where it was coming from was the bathtub. And so the first 6 weeks, I think I lived here, I didn't have a shower or anything like that. And I remembered that it was like when I first discovered, oh my gosh, there's a leak and it's not good, and we should call somebody. And the landlord is like being all kind of not getting urgent about it. It's like I was so overwhelmed with how awful this was and questioning decisions and all like that. And I sat down and I just let it overwhelm me. Just let it overwhelm me. I cried. I did all the things. It took about 30 minutes. And then once that happened, I went, well, this is dumb. Boom, boom, boom. Found a local handyman, went to the landlord and said, hey, let's call him, get this fixed. And so that to me is also living fluidly. It's like, it isn't that I did something or anything that made it change, but this came up. And so by allowing myself to simply be submerged, just be submerged, this is what's happening. Did you want me to answer that right away, Amber? Yes, it distracted me completely and totally. The chat just.
Yeah, I think we have a few comments in there even before that, but yeah.
Okay. All right, where are we going? I'm going to be curious about, this is from Kim. I've learned to be curious about why I have certain thoughts and anxiety, and then ask myself questions to try and reframe the present moment. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's relaxing into what's going on, but also bringing it in, right, Kim? Just nod your head. Oh, you're cultivating a more deeper, fluid experience of love in our lives. That's intriguing. Do you have any ideas, Amber? You have to unmute yourself, love.
Yeah, let's go ahead and mute. Josh, can you help me with that? I don't quite know how to do it on my cell phone.
Yes, so Amber
Send
put
it
in the
to
chat.
Yeah.
Any advice for cultivating a deeper, more fluid experience of love in our lives?
Yes, and I asked Amber if she had any ideas about that.
Yeah, Josh, can we unmute her? Thank you.
Answered it. I was typing as Kim answered her. I think one of the ways it sounds like is to be more curious, right? Cultivation is just what practice can I do? I think that I'm sorry, I've fruited it up a little bit, the question a little bit too much. I like fluffed it up a little bit. Any advice for cultivating? So any advice for some practical tips? And that I thought Kim answered it pretty immediately with
Yeah.
her question. I think there's a lot of different ways, but curious, I love that.
Yeah.
Staying curious and not placing any judgment on things, right? Like,
Well, and the idea of love, we kind of get caught up in this idea of the love is between, two human persons. And when I think of love now, I think of it as the basic nature of human is compassion, and part of that is love. And so I think that by living fluidly in our own personal lives to the best of our ability, because that's all we're doing is the best of our, the best that we can, that we are cultivating a deeper and more fluid experience of love and compassion in our lives. Because that awareness that we have expands us. And one of the things I've noticed is that where it expands is, for me, is in the heart. And not the heart that's beating in my chest. It belongs there. That's where it does its job for this body. But that heart that is all of us, that heart that is I don't know, that's, I guess, my purpose for being here is that heart. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like what you're talking about when you say heart, it's like our most aligned, coherent, harmonized expression with what is. This expression, talking before you, your expressions, individual expressions, but expressions as a collective of what it means to do life. For me, it was this thought of unconditional love expressed in all forms, living, not living, this whole thing called life. So it gave me, we're talking about a greater perspective that creates peace. That was a peace that was like instant from getting that awareness to right here, right now. There's no way I could ever see life any other space other than unconditional love, where everything is perfect just as it is. There's still evolution happening, and there's still Troy talking about compassion for ourselves and having compassion for others that creates the space for fluid living.
Well, Noe, I really want to point out that I think that literally human nature is based in compassion. And we don't, through whatever happens, genetics or programming or whatever you want to say, what happens is that we start to not trust it. We start to not trust our natural compassion. And that's really sad. But again, I go back to, this is something that I've discovered. It's like this living fluidly as much as possible. It doesn't happen. There's no calendar. You don't set a calendar up with this. But by doing that, what's happening, I'm noticing, is that I do have more compassion. It doesn't mean that I'm, going down the street and helping homeless people. It has nothing to do with that. It's simply that the essence of the energy that I sense is simply compassion for it all. Compassion for it all, everything. And that can be hard to do. Because we do get caught up. We get caught up in the rapids of our mind. We get caught up in the rapids of our emotions. We get caught up in the deliciousness of a new love. Oh my God, is there nothing better than falling in fucking love? Isn't it? It's wonderful. And that being in love with ourselves, we can have that level of love with ourselves, I think. A few years ago, I remember we did a big project on self-love. And I had this huge double-sided whiteboard that I filled up with all the things I loved about myself. And I really had a lot of fun putting all the stuff that I don't like about myself up there. But I think it shifted something a little bit to do that exercise for myself. Anybody else? Come on.
I think we have some other comments. I can't see them, but I saw
No, there's
somebody.
nothing in the chat right now.
Okay. Troy, can you just bring out a couple helpful things that we can each do at home to really start looking at how are we doing life, like a little self-examination to create some awareness and lightness, and then shift that around to what are some things that we could do to live with more compassion, more fluidity in the acceptance of ourselves and everyone around us and life itself, so that we can be in this, more fluid, down the stream living than having clunkiness, hitting rocks left and right, and trying to hold on to a past or feelings that have long passed,
You're
right?
not gonna like my answer. Nothing. There's nothing to do. There's only awareness. There's only, and I call it noticing. This awareness has produced a level, it's like when I, now I don't have any words. When I notice something, that's awareness, because there's nobody watching Troy all the time, what she's thinking and all this kind of stuff. And we kind of go through life like everybody's looking at us and they can hear our thoughts and all this kind of stuff. So but compassion for ourselves is just getting that nobody's watching and noticing. I don't have any practical things. I think everybody who's on this call already have the tools in their tool bucket that they can tap into, whatever it is for them. I don't meditate. This is just not something that I do. Yes, I've done visual meditations and I can sit and do meditations with other people, but it's not something that is part of my practice. What I do is contemplative. I do contemplative with everything I do, the dishes, the dinner, the work, the whatever it is. I think contemplation for me is more beneficial, because that contemplation is what brings about the noticing, and the noticing is what increases the awareness. It's like noticing that this thought there was this thought in here that was kind of angry, and then there was this sensation in my stomach, and noticing that the thought was driving the emotions and going, wait a second, if I don't pay attention to the thought, then what happens? So is that practical? I don't know if that's a practical thing. It is for me. And it doesn't take a lot of time, and you don't have to have any special equipment.
Right. I love what you're
You don't have
saying.
to burn any candle. You don't have to do anything. Yes, Tina. Oh, wait. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
let's get her unmuted if we can.
Tina's waving her hand.
There we go.
But Kimberly Williams, I'm going to read this when she's.
So,
Go ahead, Tina.
so you said about the thought and the feeling, like when you have the thought and then you get the feeling when you're contemplating. So I guess the thing I have a bit of a struggle with is how not to pay attention to the thought. Like how do you stop paying attention to the thoughts? Like
Notice that you're paying attention to them. I know it sounds really, really weird and not really very intuitive, but it's all I can. It's like you're simply noticing. It's like I finally have figured out that this little voice up here, it loves to agitate. It loves agitation. It loves to be agitated. Oh my gosh, it can tell. It can go on and on and on about all kinds of different things that will get the energy going. So that's what I'm noticing, is that's what it likes to do. And that's all I'm noticing. But soon as I notice, oh yeah, that's right, that you like to do that, it literally, I then take my interest away. I become not as interested. And that's really all the noticing is doing, is noticing where your energy is flowing. And you're just noticing it. And then you can sometimes I'll tell you, I have a lot of sweet memories, and every once in a while they'll come up and I'll go, yeah, let's do that one again, because that feels really good.
I'll add one thought with what you're saying, the noticing versus focusing. Troy, Amber, and I had a whole discussion on that. What came through on one weekend escape of relaxation and self-care. So what we focus on expands, it becomes our experience. So it's easy to contemplate on what kind of experience am I having and how do I feel. Then you'll see what the focus is.
Yeah.
The art of living is that how I want to live life. I love what Troy said. Instead of focusing, notice it, transmute it,
Well,
become your own alchemist.
I have there's a couple shares in the chat.
Yeah.
Kimberly Williams says, I've noticed since being on this journey, it's challenging for me to meet others who are aligned and connected. I'm losing friends and relationships I've been involved with prior to living in my purpose on purpose. That's really beautiful, Kimberly. I really like that. And I have to tell you that I'm also losing friends and relationships as I go further on this journey. I don't know if it has to do with the idea that the people that I'm surrounded with aren't working on my purpose, because for myself, this is only for myself. I've discovered that there really isn't any purpose for us to be here. And that's not a bad thing. It's actually makes life a lot easier because it pulls the importance off of that. And the other thing, Kimberly, that I'll share with you that has happened is that now what's happening is the people who are aligned with my ideas and the things that I like to talk about, they're starting to show up more. And Amber, the more we are aware, she says, we become the more aware we become, the more we can quiet the voice and change the narrative if you'd like. That's the possibility as well. It's been termed recontextualization. I think Lily has used that from time to time. Sharon says, I seem to be unable to stop my head from ruminating. I cannot shut my head off. Yes, you're right. You can't. It's not, you will not ever. It won't happen. It will be quiet from time to time. But the truth is, that's its design. Sorry.
But there are many ways if we say that as well. To gain, there are many ways to gain to quiet the mind.
Yes, there are ways to quiet the mind, but the truth is it will never shut up. And thoughts are the Kimberly says thoughts are the language of the brain, feelings are the language of the body. And that's the interesting thing, is that when we start noticing the thoughts are driving the feelings, then we can start to see and take away the energy from the thought, or we can follow it, or, you know, journal it, or however we want to do it. It depends on how much the feelings are impacting our experience of our living.
And talking about awareness, the noticing, going back to that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a noticing. I don't know how, you know, language gets difficult sometimes. Sharon's raised her hand. Yes, Sharon, please talk to us.
I did. I raised my hand. I'm going to lower it. Because of my ADHD, I can't shut my head off. And when I lay in bed, it just goes on and on and on. And I have a very difficult time sleeping. So I started listening to guided meditation on my iPad.
Does that help?
It has, because now I'm listening to this person's voice, which helps sometimes to shut my head off.
One of the things you might try, this is something I started a few years ago, and then it's something I have to do every night now. And that is, there are a lot of sounds that you can get as an app. My thing is thunderstorms. Thunderstorms they will help me sleep. They will keep me asleep. I mean, they're a very soothing sleep. It's different for other people. Some people need white noise. There's dark noise. There's streams. There's, you know, that might be something that might help but I play it all night long. So it's just like I sleep in thunderstorms every night. But water, and that's again, I have an affinity to water, obviously. So this is why the analogies come out as they do, as streams and things like that. I have tried all of those, she says, Sharon says.
I'd like to add one thing that I've been using recently is called biotuning. It's binaural beats, but it gets infused with your actual frequency, and the way they capture that is they put these probes on your wrist, and it captures the moment that your body says, "This is my Zen mode. This is my samadhi. My all is well. My neutral, where my nervous system is deactivated, and I'm at peace." So they infuse your frequency. Don't ask me how that works. I won't be able to explain it precisely.
Is
But
this the
I'm using
visor?
it.
Is this the visor with your?
No,
Oh,
no, this is, I'm leveraging technology for peace, and it all works so far, but I literally put on my headphones, 30 minutes. I'm actually out within a minute or two. And then afterwards, if I was in a funky mood, it's like almost like a meditative, but without any sort of effort. It puts me to sleep. My whole body is in a very restful state, and I'm able to sleep really great after that. Or I can do it during the day. Let's say I was in a conversation, some sort of interaction that triggered me, completely puts me into a all is well state. So there's many ways. That's just simply one way that I've been using recently that helps me big time.
What did you say you used?
It's called biotuning. I'm not quite sure where it's at available. I went to Santa Cruz to Light and Sound Spa, I believe. It's what it's called. I won't be able to type it out. I'm on my phone right now, perhaps. Maybe Josh
Yeah.
can look it up.
I just found that when I'm in bed and I listen to rain or ocean, it it irritates me.
Yeah, I hear you.
And for me, listening to another voice kind of almost like shuts my head off. I know that sounds crazy.
No, and that, I think Amber mentioned some mantra-based meditation. And I was thinking also, have you ever heard of kirtan, Kirtin chanting?
No.
So any kind of rhythmic chanting that's in voices. So these are, I mean, there's so many things out there now. It's really kind of beautiful that we can blend the technology that's available. And I've noticed also that there's more and more things available, like this biofield tuning. I think, did you get the website there, Sharon? Josh put it in the
Yes,
chat.
I did.
Okay, great.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
actually,
you.
it's a different website, but that might speak to something of that effect. I think it's Light and Sound Spa. It's out of Santa Cruz. It's one of the practitioners that I went to.
Yeah, this, I don't know. You can get it on Amazon too. So.
Yeah, but this is
Don't
something
look at it.
personal where they actually, have to, check your pulse to get your exact frequency. Yeah, I was a little skeptical, but it worked for me. And I do transcendental meditation. I also do contemplation as well as Troy. We could literally talk for days on subjects like
Oh,
this.
I'll tell
Like,
you what, you guys want to
there's
hang
not
out for the
enough
next 3
time.
or 4 hours?
Oh, we need years. I mean, we could talk for infinity.
Oh,
This
we
is
love
our
it.
jam.
So mantra meditation is a form of meditation that involves repeating a sacred word, phrase, or sound to focus the mind and promote relaxation. One of the things I've started using, Sharon, not before bed, but I chant Om Shanti, which is peace in Sanskrit, I think, or whatever language that is. Om Shanti. So, and hard for our minds to chatter if we're using a mantra, and that's true. Now, how that would work to help you go to sleep, I don't know, but that might be something that would be very valuable for you. Thank you very much, Amber, for suggesting that.
I've also started this thing called, oh, go ahead.
So you said something about we don't really have a purpose.
No, I didn't say. I said that I have discovered for myself. I'm not trying to put any of my stuff on anybody else, but I've discovered myself that truthfully, we don't have a purpose. I think there's a few people that get born into the world throughout the world that they kind of have assigned seating. In other words, life has put them in a position to make the changes that life is evolving, because it's a whole different thing. Now, you can create a purpose, you can have a purpose. What I'm saying is that inherently, when you're born, do you have a purpose?
I mean, I think maybe
You've held an infant, right? You've held an infant. What is the infant's purpose? Other than to stay alive. It inherently, in other words, in and of itself, that form has no purpose other than the continuation of the physical species. Yes? I mean, babies exude love. That's true too, Amber, is that is part of that. They are love embodied and compassion, but they're also in the human form, and it poops and pees and cries and has to eat and all the things. But what the hell is its purpose other than keeping its parents awake for months at a time?
yeah, maybe that's like one of my problems, that I'm sitting here trying to figure out what my freaking purpose is. You know what I mean? And
Yes, and inherently, what I want to share with you that Troy has discovered that Troy inherently has no purpose on being here. So I get to do whatever the heck I want.
And that's kind of how I want, I just want to do what I want.
Yeah, yes, but it's like looking at what is doing what you want. For me, doing what I want is not necessarily doing like out there doing. Doing what I want is living relaxed and with a peaceful mind, not necessarily a quiet one, but very peaceful. One that I notice like, oh, you're so full of crap. It's like, just all I'm doing is taking my energy away from the thoughts. That's all I'm doing. And it's not a practice. I'm not trying to sell this, by the way. But I found it to be so freeing to be able to just get up in the morning and go, well, I'll be doing the things that I do when I do them, and I won't be doing those things when I'm not. That's it, the whole day, Are there plans? Are there meetings? Are there calendared events? Absolutely, there are. And it doesn't.
I think what Troy's talking about is lightness, trying to shift from the heaviness of life that purpose is talking about. Troy's talking about purpose sometimes creates a lot of heaviness, a lot of imperatives of I have to. If I don't, forget it. There's this purpose, right? Troy's talking about shifting the narrative from heaviness of purpose or whatever that is that's our focus to lightness.
To allowing life to draw you into whatever it is. There's tons and tons of schools of thought and information and people, scientists and stuff like that, who are stating over and over and over that this is inherently nothing and an illusion, and we make it really important. And when we let go, could we be living our purpose just by being here? That's very possible. And I don't have an assigned seat. So that's even better. Think about it. Most of the people on the planet, we can just keep doing whatever we're doing, and it really won't make a whole lot of a difference in the larger scheme of things, will it? But there are some people that can affect the larger scheme of things.
But imagine that you just being you is already changing the world. The more you sink into your authenticity of not judging it, just lean into it, then awareness will happen because you're living life fluidly, lightness, right? Self-compassion, self-love. You're creating space for other people to dive deeper into their authenticity, their knowing. The heaviness is knowing that you don't have to actually do anything, but do you. The art of living, thus fluid living, right?
And occasionally there will be heaviness. And what I do with the heaviness now is I embrace it. And sometimes it can take one time it took up to 24 hours before because whatever was there for me to experience or embrace just kept being there until it wasn't any longer. And that's not something that I can't say do this, this, and that, and then this will happen. Just like Noe, we can share as much as we can about how it is to live fluidly, to live compassionately, to live authentically. Not, I think unconditional love is a given. I think that what it is that we are all made up of and what all of this is all made up of is unconditional love. That's how my sense of things. I don't know. There's no truth. I don't know if that's a truth. So, but it actually fills my heart to believe that. So why not? If one believe
I asked once.
what?
Oh, I was going to add one thing. I asked once, what is this all about? And I woke up in the middle of the night and it simply said, become a great storyteller. Think about that. Let that sink in. What are we doing all day long? Telling stories of who we are, how the world
Most
is,
of the time, who are we telling the story to, though, if you think about it?
right? Become a great storyteller. How about
So,
that one?
so telling your the person you're really telling
Ourself.
the story to, yeah, yeah. What?
Mhm. I said ourself.
Yeah.
Because
So
everything is us.
tell a good story.
Mhm.
Like Noe says, become a master storyteller. Not telling your story out into the world, telling the story to yourself.
Mhm.
What kind of book are we writing, right? What are we doing here? That's the
Yeah.
awareness. That's the noticing that Troy talks
Nothing.
about.
I'm going for 100% nothing, Noe.
Mm.
Okay, I'm gonna quote Troy. She got this from a book, but like this is a something I go back on as I'm doing life. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it?
And I want to share something. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Sailor Bob Adamson. Are you familiar with? I think Amber and Noe are. He passed away about 6 days ago. I saw him in his last YouTube call, and it really gave me pause for thought. He was like 96, I think. And what he was talking about was compassion, living fluidly, and so I just wanted to share that. The dream of Bob is gone. Dream of
Well, we're a little bit over. I appreciate you, Troy, so much for such a timely subject. I mean, we can all just pause with this art of living, fluid living, with compassion for ourselves and others.
And you get to design it yourself. Fluid living is not a thing. It's you get to design it. What is it for you? That's the cool part.
And if you're gonna do it, become a great storyteller of your life.
That's right. Right.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Noe, for inviting me.
Oh,
Thank you, everyone here, for sharing this time. I really, really love you.
Thank
Love you
you.
guys. I like to just close it out with just a really quick 2-breath meditation, just to bring everything home. So if you're in a safe space, obviously if you're driving, do not close your eyes. I invite you to close your eyes with me for a few seconds. And let's take a deep breath. And as you're taking this deep breath, just hold it. Imagine that you're breathing in all your suffering, all the suffering of the world, and just hold it. And then imagine that you're transmuting all this suffering within you, the world, and you're breathing in out loving kindness to yourself and loving kindness to the world, to all our life. I invite you to open your eyes. And thank you, everyone.
Thank
Until
you.
next time,
Thank you.
I was just going to
Thank
do a
you, Rochelle. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Rena.
Troy.
Thank you, Josh.
I
Thank
appreciate you
you.
guys. Until next time.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Happy Valentine's Day. Share the love.
Happy Valentine's.